I've seen with a lot of guys in the military, and I saw it a little bit with Mark. I mean, I think Mark's transition from the ring to I would call it civilian world that you're in now wasn't that bad. I mean, I've seen a lot worse.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, there was probably some conversations you and Michelle were having that were very private conversations that, and probably some conversations in your head as well, that maybe you've never shared, and where it is tough because when that is your identity, and it's so hard to not go back to it when sometimes the easiest thing to do is to hit the default button, which is to go back to what you know, right? Now, for you, you get out of the military, you go to the Seahawks, you get cut from the Seahawks. Yes, you may have been expecting it, you may have been feeling it, but once again, you are a high-level guy. You are going, very successful person. The guy walks away, you're sitting there by yourself. I mean, what's going through your head at that moment?
It was, I mean, I was still crushed. I'm not going to say like I wasn't disappointed, you know what I mean? Because there's still a part of you that's like, somehow you're going to make this happen. You're going to win that starting job, and
you've defied odds already,
like
for years.
You have to believe. If you don't believe that, you're not going to even get to that place.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of you has to believe that, but there's also that, it's just the duality, I guess, in my mind, of like accepting the inevitable at the same time as like not approaching every day with the inevitable sort of
looming.
Yeah. Dictating your training or whatever. It's just like, it's going to happen, but like not yet. And, but yeah, I remember like, and this is how it is. It's all good. Every team's like this. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. It's like, they'll tell you kind of before the team's going to go into like a team meeting. So they're sort of separate, and then you go to the equipment manager and you get this little black trash bag and you put your stuff in there. It's very depressing. You know what I mean? And if this was my only thing, I think about it in that way. If this was my only thing since I was 8 years old,
right.
And this was the dream, and like so many guys, and this was a dream, but I did other things. I gained perspective along the way, which really helped. And I still struggled, but it definitely helped. But if this was like, it's this or nothing else, and you get all the way to that point and you get a taste, you know, and I just played in one preseason game. And so I got to play in a game, which from my perspective, it was like, I shouldn't even be here. I didn't even start playing football till 5 years ago. And this is crazy. I'm warming up before the game, and Peyton Manning standing next to me, we were playing the Broncos, and they won the Super Bowl that year, and he's standing next to me like throwing footballs, and I like snap a ball, and I like look up, and I'm just like, what am I doing? This is stupid.
That's crazy though that you took that moment to appreciate.
Yeah, I did. I did.
But would you have appreciated that if you weren't 34 years old?
Probably not.
That's the thing. Like you look at a 24-year-old kid, is he appreciating that moment in a preseason game, or is he more putting more pressure on himself in that moment, thinking, I've got to do well in this game or I'm going to get cut or something,
Yeah, because I had that. I mean, that was there too. I definitely had the nerves and the excitement and like but I was just trying to remind myself, like, take this in, like this is cool. This might be it. And sure enough, 3 days later, so it was it. But yeah, it was. I remember this also helped. Before the game, I was in the locker room, and the equipment manager came up and asked if I wanted to lead the team out of the tunnel with the American flag. And I was like, yeah, of course. And he was like, man, I just watched in college and noticed that you'd lead the team out with the flag every week. Yeah. And he said, usually we have somebody, there'll be service members on the sideline in uniform or whatever, and we'll just have one of them do it. But he's like, do you want to do it in your first game? And I was like, and thank God I said yes, because it was also my last game.
You got it on film, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's on film. Okay. It's cool. Yeah. It's cool.
Better have
it's
a good picture of that hanging up.
There's there's the little flames shooting out and the cheerleaders lined up, and it's cool. And so I run out of there, and I give the flag to the guy and go over to the sideline. And then in college, we're not on the field when they play the anthem.
Right.
So the only time I'd been on the field during the anthem was when I was doing the coin toss. And so, because they'll have us come out of the locker room early. So I've been there before, but it was just different. Like, the rest of the team's not there, and it's not this, sort of special moment, at least to me. And the announcer was like, "Would everybody please rise, and honor America with the singing of the anthem." And first panic was like, "Where's the flag to like face?" Because
Right.
we got to face it. And then I turned around and faced it or found it and faced it and put my hand on my heart. And then the song started playing. And I'm like getting emotional right now thinking about it because I started bawling, I just started bawling because I was like, I was super proud. I was honestly proud of myself, as I guess arrogant as that sounds, but I was proud to like be there. And then I was thinking about, the young me who was it was just so insecure, I guess. And all those fears that I still have. Still there, you know what I mean?
Well, I think we all do to a certain degree, but I mean, just I think you were having that moment of reflection from all the things that led to that point, and that had to be. I can only imagine. Yeah. I'm getting a little bit of chills just thinking about it myself. Just for you and serving your country and all of that, to be standing there listening to the national anthem. I mean,
my best friend. My best friend, Brad Keys, passed away in 2012, December 13th, 2012. And the day before he passed, we were on a Halo team, and it was actually a training accident. Total malfunction of both parachutes, and he just burned in on a jump. Now, I talked to him the day before because he saw I got like the Disney Spirit Award, it's cheesy. It was cool, but it was a very cheesy award at the College Football Awards. And so I was on ESPN. It was my first time on TV. I was on ESPN, and I was super nervous. I watched the clip like years later, and I was like, wow, it was pretty bad, cringy. But he watched it, and he was like, called me up, and he's just giving me, and it was awesome just to talk to him. And then the next day, I found out he passed, and so his wife asked me to come be a pallbearer during the funeral, and that was during our bowl practices. And Coach Brown, was like, "Of course, So the team flew me out. They paid for everything. They flew me out there to go do that, and it was really special. And so I'm on the sideline, and I remembering being in Iraq, sitting on a rooftop, around a fire, drinking beer we're not supposed to have, and just talking with Brad about. He was the first person I told that I was going to go try and play football, when I went to college, because I knew he would still give me crap like everybody did, but he wouldn't judge me. He would be like, yeah, of course, like, why wouldn't you? Yeah. And so I started thinking of Brad, and then all those things just piled up, and I just was like, just lost it. But I didn't have to play. I wasn't starting, so I didn't have to go right out for the first punt or field goal.
You got to get yourself together a little bit.
You collect yourself a little bit. Yeah.
Wow. But that was a special. So in some ways, when I think about it, I'm like, maybe it's better I just played one game, because I don't know if it would have. And even though it was a preseason game that didn't even count on the schedule, but I don't know if anything would have topped all the
everything that happened.
Yeah, everything that happened.
Yeah. I'm sure, everything I guess happens for a reason, but. I got chills, man, when you started. Yeah. That's a cool.
It was cool.
It's a cool feeling when you get chills for somebody else's story.
Thank you.
And when you're on the top of the mountain like you were that moment, I mean, that is time for reflection a lot of the times, right? And you're sitting out there in that moment where during the national anthem, you're not talking to anyone, you're not looking at your phone, you're not doing any of those things, right? And it gives you a great time to think during that moment. And that is a great opportunity for you to reflect on your entire life almost to that point. And all of a sudden you are standing on a sideline that all three of us have sat there since we were kids, watched on television and cheered and everything else. And, you may have never played organized football, but you've been in your backyard throwing the football around and playing with your buddies and everything else.
I grew up a Niner fan during the dynasty. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I had my heroes, and I wish I was Jerry Rice or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, and now all of a sudden, there you are. And you've done it. I mean, you were the underdog. You weren't supposed to be there.
No. No. Definitely not.